Welcome to today's 5-minute Bible study in the book of Joshua. We're in Joshua chapter 6, the conquest of the city of Jericho. Now, in yesterday's session, we saw Joshua had received the instructions for how they were to take the city. And now he relays those instructions to the Israelites. Listen, verse 6, he says, "So Joshua, son of Nun, called the priest and said to them, 'Take up the ark of the covenant of the Lord. Have 7 priests carry trumpets in front of it.' And he ordered the army, 'Advance, march around the city with an armed guard going ahead of the ark of the Lord.' When Joshua had spoken to the people, the 7 priests who carried the 7 trumpets before the Lord went forward, blowing their trumpets, and the ark of the Lord's covenant followed them. And the armed guard marched ahead of the priest who blew the trumpets, and the rear guard followed the ark. Now all this time the trumpets were sounding, but Joshua had commanded the army, 'Do not give a war cry. Do not raise your voices. Do not say a word until the day I tell you to shout. Then you will shout.' So he had the ark of the Lord carried around the city. He circled it once. The army returned to camp. They spent the night there." Okay, so the first day they did as instructed. They followed the ark. They circled the city of Jericho. The trumpets were blowing, but the people said not a word. Joshua told them not to shout, just march behind the ark, circle the city. They did it the first day, and as we read on, they do it the second day. They do it for 6 straight days until they come to the 7th day. Now, according to the instructions, the 7th day was to be different. And on the 7th day, they circled the city 7 times. And then in verse 16 it says, "Now on the 7th time around, when the priest sounded the trumpet blast, then Joshua commanded to the army, 'Now shout, for the Lord has given you the city. The city and all that is in it are to be devoted to the Lord.'" So for 6 days, they marched around the city once, blowing the trumpets but making no shout. On the 7th day, they go around the city 7 times. And then the trumpets give a final blast. And Joshua says, "Shout." And the people shout victory. For he said, "The Lord has given you the city." You remember at the first of the chapter, the Lord told Joshua, "I've already given you the city. It's already yours." Now the people shout it, "For the Lord has given us the city." And when they go in, they are told to devote the entire city to the Lord. So in other words, everything they take is to be given to the Lord. Normally, an army that conquered a city would take plunder and divide the plunder among themselves. But Jericho is different. Jericho, everything is to be given as plunder to the Lord, not to the people. They're not to take anything for themselves. It's all to be given as plunder to the Lord. In other words, all the plunder is to be devoted to the Lord. So, when they do that, verse 20, when the trumpets sounded, when the people shouted, the wall collapsed. And everyone charged straight in, and they took the city. They devoted the city to the Lord and destroyed with the sword everything who lived in it, all the men and women, young and old, cattle, sheep, donkeys. So all is destroyed in the city of Jericho. And all the plunder is devoted to the Lord. And God gave the victory. All they had done was march around the city. And when they shouted the victory of the Lord, the walls collapsed as God had said they would. They went in and they took the city. Everything's devoted to the Lord. Now, keep that in mind because that's going to be an important point in the next chapter. For there's going to be one person who does not give everything to the Lord. We'll get to that in the next chapter. But right now, they're celebrating the victory. Now, everything's given to the Lord except for one family. You remember Rahab? So Joshua had said to the 2 men who had spied out the land, "Go into the prostitute's home and bring her out and all those who belong to her in accordance with your oath to her." So the young men who had done the spying went and brought out Ahab, her father, her mother, her brothers and sisters, and all who belonged to her. They brought out her entire family and put them in a place outside the camp. So Joshua spared Rahab with her family and all those who belonged to her, because she had hid the men Joshua had sent as spies to Jericho. She lives among the Israelites to this day. So Rahab, because of her faith, is spared, she and all of her family. They become part of the Israelite community. Notice that comment. She is living among us to this day when the book's written. So Rahab becomes a part of the Israelite community. She converts and becomes a part of the people of God. So Jericho falls to the Israelites. The first city of the promised land is taken. All by the power of God. No one can doubt that it was God who had done it. All they had done was circle the city. God had caused the walls to collapse and gave them the city. He had promised them victory, and he had delivered on his promise. And notice how the chapter ends. The Lord was with Joshua, and his fame spread throughout the land. The word went far and wide all through Canaan about what had happened to Jericho and how the city fell. So all the Canaanites knew that God, the true God, is with the Israelites. Their God is God. How can we stand against them? So the fame of the Israelites spread throughout the land. The knowledge of what God had done for them spread throughout the land. The fear of God spread throughout the land. All this in preparation for them taking all of the promised land. What a victory it was when Jericho, that fortified city, was taken so easily, all by the miraculous provision of God. Now, in tomorrow's session, we'll start looking at chapter 7, and we're going to see that there was a problem. One man did not give all the plunder to the Lord, and that's going to create sin in the camp, and it's going to cause problems. But we'll start looking at that in tomorrow's session. So join us next time for our 5-minute Bible study in the book of Joshua.